Racing takes place on Thursday, the 9th of March 2023. We are racing at the Vaal. It is the classic track, and race number 1 commences at 12:10 on the afternoon. Now, it is a 9-race program, and I'm joined by Alistair Cohen on the line. Alistair, how are you doing?
Hey Raheel, yeah, all good, and you? It's an interesting card at the Vaal on Thursday. It looks almost like a midwinter card, which are traditionally pretty tricky, but hopefully we can make a little bit of ground. Obviously, this past weekend back home was a great meeting. South African Classic for me is the most pivotal meeting for 3-year-olds, for Joburg 3-year-olds anyway, and well, Anfield's Rocket showed that he's a proper Group 1 horse. Well, I'm very, very happy for Grant Maroon. And in this particular case, I'm also happy for Hollywood, because when they paid the money that they did, I'm not sure the exact figure, but it was a brave purchase for a horse that was unproven at a high level. And now for him to win a Group 1, I think is big ups to everyone behind it.
Yeah, absolutely. A very, very nice win from Anfield's Rocket to get the job done. And a cracking run from Jimmy Don as well, back in second position. But overall, great racing this past weekend. Now, race number 1, 12:10, 1,000 meters the distance. It does not start any exotic, as it is a 9-race program. And this is a Work Riders maiden plate for the fillies and mares. Your favorite is horse number 6, Mia Fiore, at 6-10 in the market. She's very, very short, deep in the red. She's a 4-year-old that's only had 1 start, third behind Miss Lil Miss Moneybags. Now, obviously, she does return off a lengthy layoff, so the price is a question mark for me. But given the lack of opposition, just based on the first run, she's a horse that if she just doesn't need the run, she should go very close to winning.
Yeah, I think she's probably the one to beat. I've narrowed this down to 2 horses, unless this first time at number 9, Western Wishes, is good. She's bred to be all right, and obviously the match yard is flying at the moment. Sia Mjendeki takes her ride. As far as I know, Sia, I'm sure he rides work for Paul, but he's certainly not Paul's main man. But quite a few work riders have gone off to Japan to be work riders there. So that's why some of these names might look unfamiliar. Some of the combinations might look unfamiliar. So I'd respect any money or any talk for number 9, Western Wishes. But as far as the race runners are concerned, yeah, I would say number 6, Mia Fiore, is the right one. Lil Miss Moneybags has won again, even though the actual run on the 20th of October is a pretty weak piece of form. Lil Miss Moneybags has held form. Of course, she runs later on the card. So I think number 6, Mia Fiore, does look the one to be drawn on more the right side than the wrong side. And if she doesn't need the run too badly, I expect her to win. The other horse, number 5, Chili Marmalade, who I think will ultimately come out of a better form line, finishing 4th to Silver Mensa, but she looked like she was stopping at the end. Look, I think Silver Mensa would be an aimer in this race, so maybe you've got to exclude the 7.5 length deficit with number 5. I think she is the only one who can get close to me. Just a quick word on the riders here, Bonga. He was a jockey for a while. He was one of the Bonga. He rode quite a bit for Mike Cock when he was in a. Then he went. He's come back, again, and now he's back. So he might have a little bit of an edge in the saddle.
Yeah, absolutely. Numbers 5 and 6 could be the ones that fight out the finish. Number 5, Chili Marmalade, is at 5-1 in the market, so perhaps some better value as opposed to number 6, Mia Fiore, who does return off a lengthy layoff. Now we're going to move along to race number 2, which is going to be the start of the bipart, 1,000 meters a distance. Get your bets on by 12:40 on the afternoon. And this is a maiden juvenile plate for the fillies. Now, your favorite in this lineup is number 2, Elegant Ice. Craig Zaki back in town, and he's aboard this individual, this 2-year-old daughter of Water Winter. 5-2 into 18-10. It's number 11, White Hills, a horse with 3 runs under the belt at 22-10. Commission's Passion, who you touched on in a previous show, the horse looking for more ground, he's at 4-1. Then Regal Daughter from the Candice Dawson yard at 6-1, and it's 20-1 and better bar those. Now, Alistair, no doubt number 11, White Hills, given the racecourse experience, 3 runs to date, beaten behind what looks to be a very, very smart sort in the form of the Africa House, winning his last on debut, and Virginia Beach was second in that race. And obviously this horse ran third behind Ice Star, the horse that ran second behind Ice Star, Woman of Fame, ran a good second just this past weekend. So White Hills, certainly one of the leading lights and the horse to beat.
Yeah, a good but disappointing second from Woman of Fame. The interesting thing about White Hills is that I watched the debut closely. Candice had a debutant in that race. I think it was exchange student who came out and won out of that race. And I can't remember if it was you or Dees that I did the show with when White Hills ran on the 17th of January. And she just caught my eye to an extent. And I thought, right, next time she runs, she'll have a good chance. And she went close to Ice Star. And then last time, I think she was beaten by Sean Terry's got some very good 2-year-olds. And I think the Africa House is one of those that's top draw. You always worry, are 2-year-olds going to train on? Sean's 2-year-olds tend to train on, but that's always, never mind that. Let's isolate her to the 2-year-old department. She looks really, really good, does the Africa House. So I think number 11, the White Hills, is the one that they all need to beat. Interesting that number 2, Elegant Ice, has come in for support, and that's the current favourite. Craig Zaki rides for Lucky Hudalaka. Lucky knows how to get his first timers ready, so respect that, and it would be great for Craig to have his first winner back in South Africa for Lucky. They are obviously good mates. 3, Commerson's Passion. Nice run, but as we have established through Corey Lensley's interview when Global Thunder won their stable companions, their Commerson's Passion needs further. So I'd keep a good eye on her for next time out. And I must confess, there's a lot going on at the moment. So I haven't spoken to Candice about number 5, Regal Daughter. I don't know what she expects. She's obviously ready to run. I know Candice won't run a horse, soft and not having done the work at home, although unlikely to be tuned up. But Keegan DeMello's engagement, I think, is just got to be something that punters need to look at.
Yeah, absolutely. Keep a close eye on the first time on number 5, Regal Daughter. And at bigger odds, horse number 7, Sigrid Swing, has been supported at 33-1 into 20-1 for the Heinrich van der Westhuizen yard with Caden Brewer aboard. But horse number 11, White Hills, the horse that they all have to beat with the experience on a side. Now we're going to move along to race number 3, which is another maiden juvenile plate. This time the start of the place accumulator, 1,000 meters the distance. And your fixed odds betting market in this lineup here. Jerusalema Rain has found support. He was carded to run over the weekend, but obviously was scratched and will take his place on Thursday. 11-2 into 7-2. But the favorite is horse number 8, Calamureta, from the Ashley Fortune yard, and they've got the top 2 in the market. Good. We see Aldo de Meyer in town, and he's riding for Ashley aboard this 2-year-old daughter of Give Me the Green Light out of a Fort Wood mare. Now, Philly taking on the boys, gets the sex allowance. What's your thoughts on horse number 8?
Well, the first thought I had here, Raheel, is looking the mayor comes up to Joburg to run for Ashley Fortune. They have a winner. Obviously, I think the one in race 4, Empress, is probably the more likely one, but there's nothing that's having a double. There's a few horses here that reading-wise, and I do remember from the sale. And 2 of those are number 2, Guy Gibbons, of Lancaster Bomber, who's a half brother to Katie Flindini, and Roy's Yard's going along very, very nicely, especially with their youngsters and their sprinters. And even though I don't think Diasha went to the sales, he might have. Obviously, the name has changed to the Hollywood Syndicate, but I think I saw Diasha at the Ridgemont Highlands Stallion Day that I did in August when I was having a look around, and I think the son of Rafif was on display, and he's a lovely, lovely looking horse, if it is the horse that I'm thinking about. So they are 2 of the first timers that are not at the top of the boards that I would watch, but I would respect the money with both fortune runners. I would be leaning towards number 8, Calamureta, though, between the 2.
Yeah, it's interesting that Keegan DeMello rides for Clinton Binder. I know he is sponsored by Winning Form, but not often you see him teaming up with Clinton Binder. I know he does have a ride for Clinton Binder at Hollywoodbets Greyville this Wednesday on the poly track. But yeah, let's keep an eye on horse number 7. As they're mentioning, if it's the same horse, certainly a smart looking individual. And then number 2, Guy Gibson, 400,000 Rand purchase. Roy Magna, the trainer, Raymond Danielson aboard, and Lancaster Bomber. He's absolutely flying at the moment with these first set of runners. That's race number 3. And the Ashley Fortune runners, Carla Moretta, Jerusalema Rain, the horses that have found a bit of support in the market. And then others to keep an eye on, numbers 2 and 7. Race number 4, a maiden plate over the 1,000 meter trip, the start of the pick 6, and here War Empress, even money favorite. It's 4-1 Iron Sky, 4-1 Cosmic Star, 8-1 Fully Automatic, 12-1 in Better Bar. Those now, Alistair, as you mentioned, no doubt Aldo has come up to the Highveld for this ride here. 3-year-old daughter of Verson Jetrix. You can clearly see what they think of her. They took her to the Cape, beaten behind Why Not Jackie, went off as favorite. She was mentioned to be a good thing on the day, but she just found 1-2 good. Back in the Highveld, she meets a field that she's capable of putting to bed quite easily, and given that she does get the 2.5 kgs of sex allowance, she should be a tough nut to crack.
Aldo sweating down to 57.5. That's also got to be a telltale sign. That's a good pickup. The irony about number 11, War Empress, is that had she not been rested 88 days and been one of the first fortune runners back from Cape Town to run, I would have had a disclaimer saying, just see how they run. Do they come back flat? Is their first run back at the same levels? But Black Egret came out and won a very, very good race with that line of thinking. So I don't think that the travel, the fact that it's 88 days apart, is going to hold number 11 War Empress back. I think everything points in her favour, even though the form lines are not all that strong. A Time to Flower on the 4th of October. That's from the Brett Crawford stable. She's not ripping up any trees. And then obviously last time down Cape Town behind Why Not Jackie. She obviously has her issues because she's returned coughing on both occasions. But the tongue tie is on as it was last time out. So they're obviously trying their best to nullify any disadvantage that she might have. To me, it looks like the Fortune Yard have looked at number 11, War Empress, running in race 4 at the Vaal on Thursday, the 9th of March, and said, guys, let's just make sure that she wins. So I think she'll win the first leg of the pick six.
Yeah, absolutely. Taking no chances here. The big man is here, and Aldo de Meyer looking to get the job done for Ashley Fortune and for Mario Ferreira and the sterile daughter of Vercingetrix. Hopefully can notch up that maiden win at the third time of asking. Race number 5, another maiden plate, this time for the fillies and mares over 2,000 meters. I thought a race where quite a few horses had chances here. Number 2, Broadlands. She's obviously been a horse that, a bit frustrating to follow, a bit costly to follow as well, given that she's been beaten favourite on numerous occasions. She's a favourite once again at 2-1. Sean Terry has cover in the race with Spring of Elixir, who ran a much better race last time out behind Go Flickerty, beaten 3.5 lengths. Interesting, Keegan gets a ride now. Turn the beat around 3-1, 8-1 and better bar those. Now, obviously, numbers 2 and 13 are the horses that I think set the standard here. A Touch of Sugar, I've thrown her in. She's at 10-1 in the market. I don't think she's a 10-1 shot, but obviously she was beaten behind Batik last time out, and Batik took forever to win that maiden, and I'm not convinced about that form line. But the Cape Lights form line is what keeps me interested. I thought Cape Lights ran an absolute cracker straight out the maidens. Island Beauty has come through to win quite a nice race as well. So if she were to reproduce that type of run, I thought she could run a nice race here, especially stepping up to the 2,000, which I think will suit her down to the ground.
Yeah, Raheel, I think the key to this race is that you've got to make up your mind. Do you think Broadlands is beatable? Now, I'm twice bitten, 3 times shy with this daughter of Silvano. So I'll look to take her on, even though she looks the right one. I just think that she's a bit of a tease, number 2, Broadlands. I think when she wins, she'll probably go on a streak and she'll end up looking all right ultimately. But she just, at the top of the boards, I think bookmakers are probably just trying to draw punters in and take advantage of the fact that she's got appealing numbers to her name. So I think looking else, not that Broadlands can't win, but I think looking for alternatives is probably the way to go when playing your pick sixes and also the sort of start of jackpot 1. I hear about what you say about number 3, A Touch of Sugar. I think this distance will suit. She's a player. The horse that I have an inkling for, funny enough, is number 4, Miss Christmas. Craig Zaki rides for Lucky Hoodalakis. I don't think all her runs have been all that bad. The Mother Christmas Carol was trained by Jeff Woodruff, and she stayed all day. I think this extra trip will help. I think that the runs under the belt is not a bad thing either, having her 4th career start. I think there's enough to like about number 4, Miss Christmas. And if you're looking for an individual bet in the race, she could be the each-way play here. And then number 11, Spring of Elixir, is another horse that I have a lot of time for. Funny enough, if they priced up a match race between the Tarry runners, I'd go with number 11, Spring of Elixir, as the right one. I love the improvement from first start to second start. Funny enough, I heard Sean Terry's interview leading into that second start, and he was not happy with the ride at all that Spring of Elixir was given first time out. And then she stepped up with a much better run behind Go Flickerty, who, of course, won at Turfentine about a week ago. So a very strong case can be made for number 13. She'll actually be my top choice, number 13, Spring of Elixir, but each way play and maybe a few swingers with number 4, Miss Christmas.
Yeah, well, we're both in the same camp here. We're looking to take on Broadlands. Alistair with number 4, Miss Christmas. Myself with number 3, A Touch of Sugar. And perhaps the Sean Terry other runner, Spring of Elixir, could just be the right horse in the race with Keegan DeMello in the irons. And she returns off a rest. And if she just doesn't need the out-in, which I don't think she will, given that Keegan is aboard, and she could be a massive player in the start of Jackpot 1. Now, race number 6 on the program, a classified stakes, 2,400 meters a trip, the start of Jackpot 2. Absolute Value, your 5-2 favorite. Rosie Lemon at 33-10, all the way from USA, 9-2. Flag Bearer at 7-1, along with Great Affairs, 8-1, and Better Bar. Those now, Alistair, I thought quite a tricky race. Numbers 1, 3, 4, and numbers 1, 3, 7 rather. 1, 3, 7, the horses that keep me interested in this lineup here. But what's your take on the race?
I'm in a bit of a mood today, Rahil. You might know or might not know, but I'm in a bit of a mood today, so I'm going to say something that might be a bit controversial. Whoever came up with this particular race, and there's another one on the card for jockeys and therefore recently qualified apprentices. For example, Gabriel Peterson came out of his time recently, Jose Ramsden and Paul Dickon. They're not apprentices. Now, I know there are not many apprentices around in South Africa, so if you do have an apprentice race, you're going to have a maximum field of 9 and everyone else is going to be without a rider declared. But I'm not sure that this is a good idea to have even though they qualified recently and then, they probably the same age as the older apprentices around like Carl Stradham. But I think qualified jockeys, no matter how old they are or how long they've been out of their time, should not be racing against these apprentices. And I think a lot of the apprentices are very, very good. But I think it's a far better opportunity for an apprentice to get wins under the belt and to get money through the academy. Let's say, for example, Dickon beats Ramzan and then Ken Peterson in third. That's going to do absolutely no one any favors. Anyway, that's my rant. What do I think of the race? Not a whole lot. There are a lot of horses that need to be in here. 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, 8, and 11. I've tipped to jackpot 2 as my suggested bet. My first choice here is number 2, Afraid, under Kyle Stradham. This will be his first day back, riding after an injury that he sustained a few months ago. He's going to have to keep his weight under control with Kyle, but he's obviously a very, very good apprentice, and he's got the genetics to be good as well. I think the runs that he's had against much stronger sets him up in this race. His rating has come down a bit more. He was an 82 not long ago, so the handicap has been kind to him for some reasonable runs. I mean, if he was my horse, I'd be disappointed that he hadn't won, but there'll be some performances there where I say, you know what, it wasn't a bad run running against the quality that he has. He tried the listed Java handicap as well, so that's the only real stinker on the page. And I think number 2, Afraid, is probably in the right place to win the race. Of the others, I think number 7, Absolute Value, is one to chase him home. Spare Lengua takes the ride, a bit of an awkward draw, but he's got a lot of back straight to work with, and Absolute Value is likely to go off to the front. So if these young jockeys, not all apprentices, these young jockeys don't go crazy in front, then number 7, Absolute Value, could be the one with the run of the race. I think the distance might be a little bit of a stretch, but if he gets a soft lead and controls things, he could be difficult to pick back. It's a very difficult start to jackpot 2. I've got lots of horses here, but number 2, Afraid, is my top choice.
Yeah, and I'll be with the horse number 1, Great Affair. Now, both our selections, they stay all day long. They stay better than this field here, and seems to be a lot of pace in the race. So numbers 1 and 2, it could play into their hands, and they could be the horses that are staying on best of the rest in the concluding stages of the race. Rachel Vinegar versus Kyle Stradham. Let's see who comes out trumps in race number 6. Now, we will move along to race number 7. Fillies and Mares 71 handicap over the 1600 meter trip. Your favorite, Burmese Tiara, at 3-1, along with number 5, Quasi's Lady. It's 7-2 about Bushveld, 4-1 Tinder Dry. Do take note, carries 60 kgs now. New rating 71 after winning last time out, beating last year. So Tinder Dry will be carrying top weight in this lineup with Cole Dickon. It's 8-1 and Better Bar those. Now, Tinder Dry, Burmese Tiara, Quasi's Lady, and Field of Vision. That's the rocket in the race for me, Alistair. I liked it last time out. Wasn't quite impressed with the run, but I think the handicap has done a bit of a favor here, dropping a few points, and she gets a 2.5 off the back, which I think will suit peak run now. And I think at 16-1, she could be a nice lurker, especially in this type of race where it's not the strongest of lineup.
Yeah, maybe you've talked me into it. I can see your point here, Rahil, because obviously when I went through this card, I looked at Field Division and I thought, yeah, she's got a chance. But now that I'm looking at it, it's amazing when you actually sit next to someone or hear from someone talk about their reasons, and it suddenly adds up. I'm a little disappointed that I don't have Field Division in my jackpot. I actually think she's a player now. You've talked me into her. My numbers here are 1 and 3, with number 3, Burmese Tiara, my top choice. Even though she's forgotten how to win, I think going over 2,000 meters last time will probably do her a favor. She was just seen off late by last year. He came with a late rattle, and I like the fact that she's dropping in distance to 1,600 meters. I wasn't convinced that she'd go 2,000. She certainly does, but I like the fact that she nearly pulled it off last time, and I think there's a lot that'll go better for number 3 Burmese Tiara this time around. So she'd be my top choice in an open race. I have a lot of respect for number 1 Bushveld. She looked dangerous for much of the way last time. Just the final 200 meters, she petered out of it. But I see there are a few excuses in that run behind Just Be Nice, who was very, very well handicapped coming into that race. So I think number 1 Bushveld is worth another try. I've left out number 5 Quasi's Lady because I've watched her so many times. I don't think she's got the desire to get her head down. She'll look dangerous again at the 400. You'll say, oh, what's that in the black, white, and red? And she just doesn't seem to go on with it in the closing stages. Number 5 Quasi's Lady. Although I think she'll go close enough. So 1 and 3 for me in the second leg of the second jackpot.
That's race number 7 over 1,600 meters. Now we're going to move along to the penultimate race on the card. It's a fillies and mares 87 handicap over the 1,000 meter trip. And we see Silver Mensa in action in this lineup here. Now, when I had a look at the race, I thought Silver Mensa, favorite 18 to 10. That's a bit too short for my liking. And then I thought Big Eyed Girl could be a massive runner. I was actually tempted to bank her. But then when I had a look at that run behind May Queen, then I saw Lil Miss Moneybags comes into the race, Samoa comes into the race. So then I opted against it, and I've gone with a few more horses here. So numbers 1, 4, 7, and 8. I've included number 7, Let's Cruise. She's at 16 to 1, just based on the fact that she was beaten behind Lil Miss Moneybags on debut. She's a lot better off at the weights. She beat Silver Mensa. She's 1.5 kgs better off at the weights. Silver Mensa is at 18 to 10. She's just coming out the maidens. Let's Cruise, fair enough, she ran a disappointing race straight out the maidens, but she took on a fillies and mares 88 handicap. That was quite a strong field. I think now that she has a second run after rest, Keratile Kachedi is riding quite well at the moment, and I think she's a horse that could actually improve in this lineup here. And Vaal Classic Track, I don't think she's going to have an issue with it, so she could just be the lurker in the race. But your thoughts on race number 8?
Fan of Kachedi, and so is Candace. He does a lot of work back at Ryan Keithfontein, and the boy is going to make it. What are my numbers here? 1, 4, and 8, and I'm exactly the same with the Johan Janssen van Vuren pair, like we were with Ashley Fortune earlier on, and Sean Terry earlier on. If they priced up a match race between the Van Vuren runners, I'll be all over number 1, Big Eyed Girl, even though Silver Mensa gets a lighter weight. I think 18 to 10 is a bit too short for me. My first race here, I'm going to give another chance to number 4, Little Miss Moneybag. I think she's a bit of a weird one. I think she's a bit precious. I don't think she's the easiest to ride, but I don't think she stayed 1,200 meters last time, especially going to the front. Her winner over 1160, she was ridden ice cold, and that's probably the way for her. So I think being drawn towards the inside, even though that's the wrong side of the track, that could do her a favor, because if Ryan Munger's just able to slot her in and get a few to follow and then track across towards the middle outside, she might end up in the right place to strike. There's evidence, well, it's a 1,000-meter race, so there would be evidence of pace. And I think there will be a few horses on the inside that will carry her to where she needs to be. So number 4, Little Miss Moneybags, even though the weight suggests that she might have her work cut out, I still believe that there's something there with her. I think there's something about her. And I think that she's at least a division better than what she's running with here. So I think that she's definitely my first choice. And I like the look of number 1, Big Eyed Girl. But I just think she's more grizzled. She's harder. She's run to the peak, who of course ran very close up in the Southern Cross Stakes at Hollywoodbets Kenilworth a few weeks ago, or a few months ago even. And I think with a tongue tied back on, you might see a little bit more from number 1, Big Eyed Girl. So she's very, very interesting for me, and an interesting race. And then one of my favorites, number 10, Samoa, an 8-year-old running for the 67th time. She'll be there and thereabouts. Whether she wins or not, I have my reservations, because she's another one who just forgets how to win. She also needs a certain type of ride, but I think she'll go close enough.
Yeah, certainly number 4, Little Miss Moneybags, in with a massive chance. And as Alistair mentioned, number 1, Big Eyed Girl, a horse that you can never discount from the mix. And then you've got Silver Mensa straight out the maidens. We'll see how she does go after beating Fields of Grace. And she won quite comfortably, but not a form line that I'm convinced about. And then Let's Cruise, horse to include into the mix, along with horse number 10, Samoa. Now, race number 9, fillies and mares, 66 divided handicap, 1,000 meters at distance. And scratched here. Numbers 5 in the ether and number 8 beaded gown, which makes it a bit more tricky. Mercer Girl is at 7-2. Now, Mercer Girl, she hasn't won for 551 days, but her last 2 runs have been more encouraging. 4th behind Aniara, 3rd behind Looking Hot, showing pace, and then just staying on in the concluding stages of the race. We've got Love Bite at 9-2, Mia Regina 11-2, 7-1 Cameretta, Rock on Captain, Conquer the World, 10-1 in Better Bar those. It's an absolute minefield to close off proceedings at the Vaal on Thursday, Alistair.
Yeah, it's a horrible race here. Back to the point. I mean, what is Cabello Matsanyani doing riding in this race? What is that? Well, how can that be? I mean, anyway, what are my numbers here? Funny enough, I like number 11, Mercer Girl. Nathan Klink takes the ride for Bridget Stardoff. Last 2 runs, as you mentioned, much better when going off to the front and just getting collared late. She's not one to go broke on, but she's drawn on the right side of the track. And I think running in a straight line is probably a little easier for her than Turpentine. Even though she's got some reasonable runs on the inside track, I still think that, just putting your head down and going with a light weight is probably the way forward for number 11, Mercer Girl. So yeah, she is my top selection in the final race, a very open final race. My numbers here are 3, 6, 10, and 11. You said the scratchings of Beaded Gown and In the Ether complicates things a little bit more. I think it makes it a bit straightforward. But I think if they were in the lineup, I don't think the race is any easier. So just to go through those numbers: 3, Mia Regina, first run for Tony Peter. We've seen many new arrivals for the yard come out in their first runs and do crazy things. So just on that logic, I'd be annoyed if I left her out and she won. Number 6, Love Bart, I think is a huge player as well. She's been running with far stronger. She ran with Boys last time behind Mover and Shaker. Mover and Shaker would be odds on in a race like this. So I think number 6, Love Bart, although another one who hasn't won for a while, she's been banging on the door to some much better horses than what she runs with today on Thursday. So she goes in. And then this horse Primula is always on my radar. I think that she's going to come up at a big price one of these days. And because I think that, I don't want to be leaving her out because her Cape form stands out in this race.
Horse number 12, Rio's Kiss, drawn in gate number 1 on the inside. Now, she's a horse that bounced back to some of more decent form last time out, 1.5 lengths behind Letitia's Angel. Quick backup 7 days later. Gabriel Peterson rides. She's a horse that has tumbled in the ratings and could be competitive. And then just one more horse, number 9, Time is Ticking. Now on a mark of 59. She's come down from a 76. She's now taking on E-Class Company. She gets the 4 kgs off the back as well. And I think with just 52.5, they could try go to the front with this filly and try steal a march on the opposition with such a lightweight. So I'll be keeping an eye on her at around 14-1 in the market. So 12 and 9. 9 and 12 are 2 roughies in the race, but as Alistair mentioned, Love Bite, a horse that has certainly taken on stronger. Primula has some Cape form line, and he's with number 11, Mercer Girl from the Bridget Stardoff yard. Now we're going to move along to the suggested bet part of the show. Alistair, take us through your suggested bet. You mentioned Jackpot 2.
I just want to make another observation, which I can't resist about this the Apprentice situation. If Luke Ferraris was still in South Africa, he would be riding in that last race. So let that sink in. Right, Jackpot 2 is my suggested bet on a very, very tricky card. Jackpot 2 on the 9-race card starts in race number 6. And that gets underway at 5-3. So my numbers here are 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, 8, and 11. So Great Affair, Fraud, Flag Bearer, Just Eminence is in. 7 Absolute Value, 8 Rosie Lemon, and 11 all the way from the USA. By 1 and 3 Bushveld and Burmese Tiara. So that is my chance leg. By 1, 4, and 8 in race 8. So Big Eyed Girl, Little Miss Moneybags, and Silver Mensa. And then the final race on the card. I've even left out Cabello. So I mean that's how much logic I've used. 3 Mia Regina, 6 Love Bart, 10 Primula, and also number 11 Mercer Girl, with Mercer Girl my top choice from the back. Very, very tricky card at the Vaal. If you come through that in the green, pat yourself on the back. You are very good.
Alistair taking no chances in the first leg of Jackpot 1. Now we're going to have a look at my suggested bet. I've gone for Jackpot 1. And so perhaps you could play Jackpot 1 and Jackpot 2 on Thursday over at the Vaal. First leg 2, 3, 13, followed by 1, 3, and 7, by 2, 3, 5, and 6, by 1, 4, 7, 8, and that will cost you 144 Rand. Alistair, thank you very much for your time and for your insights into racing at the Vaal on Thursday. All the best and enjoy the rest of your week.
Cheers, Raheel. Thanks so much. Yeah, I'll see everybody soon.
Thanks very much to Alistair Cohen for all of his help when it comes to racing over in the Highveld. All the best, guys. Hopefully you manage to find yourself all the winners and you find yourself in the winners queue.